Imagine this. You are the richest man in the world. Your wealth is beyond imagination. You have enough money to buy entire cities. You own the banks, the fire brigades, and the politicians. But you are standing in the middle of a burning desert, thousands of miles from home. Your army, 42,000 of Rome's finest soldiers, is being slaughtered around you. And then the enemy stops fighting just long enough to show you something. They aren't holding a flag of surrender. They are holding a spear. And on the tip of that spear is the severed head of your own son. This isn't a scene from Game of Thrones. This actually happened in the year 53 BC. This is the story of Marcus Licinius Crassus. In 53 BC, he led the Roman Republic into its worst nightmare. He went looking for glory, but he walked into a trap that would change history forever. How did a band of desert horsemen destroy the greatest military machine on earth? And how did one man's greed break the Roman Republic? To understand why this disaster happened, you have to understand Crassus. Marcus Crassus was the Bill Gates, or Elon Musk of ancient Rome. His net worth was estimated at around $170 billion in today's money. He made his fortune in real estate, often by buying burning buildings for pennies and then putting out the fire with his private crew. But in Rome, money wasn't enough. You needed respect. And Crassus had a problem. He was part of the Big Three, the First Triumvirate. The other two guys, Julius Caesar and Pompey the Great. Caesar was conquering Gaul, modern-day France. Pompey had conquered the East. They were war heroes. Crassus? He was just the guy who signed the checks. He was the bank. At 60 years old, this ate him alive. He didn't want to be remembered as a banker. He wanted to be Alexander the Great. So he looked at a map and pointed to the only place left to conquer, the Parthian Empire. Parthia was huge, rich, and mysterious. To Crassus, it looked like an easy target. He thought he could walk in, take their gold, and walk out a hero. He was dead wrong. In 55 BC, Crassus used his own money to build a massive private army. 7 legions, 4,000 cavalry, 40,000 men in total. He marched them into Syria. But before he even saw the enemy, he made his first fatal mistake. The king of Armenia, a Roman ally, came to Crassus with a warning. He said, "Do not go through the desert. Come through the mountains of Armenia. The hills will protect your infantry from the enemy horses." It was good advice, but Crassus was arrogant. He didn't want a long march through the mountains. He wanted a shortcut. He wanted the glory now. He rejected the king's offer. Instead, he trusted a local guide named Abgarus. Crassus didn't know that Abgarus was actually a double agent working for the Parthians. Abgarus led the Romans away from the water, away from the mountains, and deep into the flat, baking sands of Mesopotamia. The trap was set. June, 53 BC. The soldiers were exhausted. The heat was unbearable, and the deeper they walked, the more confident Crassus became. He thought the Parthians were running away from him. But they weren't running. They were waiting. On June 9th, near the town of Carrhae, the Romans finally saw them. The Parthian army was led by a genius general named Surena. He wasn't playing by Roman rules. Yet Crassus expected a normal fight. 2 armies run at each other and hack away with swords. But Surena had brought something different. He had 2 types of soldiers. First, the cataphracts. Think of them as ancient tanks, heavily armored horses and riders with massive lances. Second, and more deadly, the horse archers. Light, fast, and deadly. Crassus ordered his men into a hollow square. It's a giant defensive box. Shields out, spears up. He thought, we will just wait. They will shoot their arrows, run out of ammo, and then we will attack. It was a logical thought. Every soldier has a limit to how many arrows they can carry. But Surena had a cheat code. Surena had brought a camel train. Thousands of camels carrying nothing but extra arrows. As soon as an archer ran out, he would ride back, reload, and return. But the arrow storm never stopped. For hours, the novels stood there and died. Parthian bows were special. They were composite bows, strong enough to punch through a Roman shield and pin a man's hand to his chest. The Romans were helpless. If they broke formation to charge, the cataphracts tanks would smash them. If they stayed still, the arrows would kill them. Crassus began to panic. He looked at his son, Publius. Publius was a brave young officer who had fought with Caesar. Crassus told him, "Take the cavalry, charge them, buy us some time." Publius charged. The Parthians pretended to run away. It's an old trick, but Publius fell for it. He chased them away from the main army over a sand dune. Once they were out of sight, the Parthians turned around. Publius and his men were surrounded. They fought bravely, but it was a massacre. Publius, not wanting to be captured and tortured, ordered his shield-bearer to kill him. The Parthians cut off his head and stuck it on a spear. Back at the main battle, Crassus was waiting for his son to return. He thought maybe Publius had won. Then the Parthian cavalry rode up to the Roman lines. They weren't fighting. They were parading. They slowly rode past the Roman ranks, holding up the spear with Publius's head. They mocked the Romans, chanting that a noble father like Crassus couldn't possibly have such a weak son. This was the moment the battle was truly lost. It wasn't just a military defeat, it was a psychological hammer blow. Crassus wasn't a general anymore. He was a broken father staring at his dead child. The Roman soldiers, who were already terrified, watched their leader collapse into tears. But the legendary Roman discipline evaporated. That night, Crassus tried to order a retreat, but it was chaos. The wounded were left behind screaming in the dark. The army disintegrated. Of the 40,000 men who entered the desert, 20,000 were killed. 10,000 were captured and enslaved. Only a fragment escaped. But what happened to Crassus? The next day, General Surena offered a truce. He invited Crassus to a meeting to discuss peace terms. It was obviously another trap, but Crassus's own soldiers threatened to kill him if he didn't go. So, the richest man in Rome walked out to meet his fate. A scuffle broke out, swords were drawn, and Marcus Crassus was cut down in the dirt. There is a famous legend about what happened next. It might be a myth, but it tells you exactly what the world thought of Crassus. It is said that the Parthians took his body and poured molten gold down his throat. A final, brutal mockery, as if to say, "You hungered for gold your whole life. Now drink your fill." Later, his head was sent to the Parthian king. The Battle of Carrhae didn't just kill Crassus, it killed the Roman Republic. With Crassus dead, the buffer between Caesar and Pompey was gone. The Big Three became two rivals. Within 4 years, they were fighting a civil war that would end Roman democracy forever. But there is one final mystery. Remember the 10,000 Roman prisoners? They were marched east and disappeared from history. But years later, Chinese historians recorded fighting a strange unit of mercenaries who fought in a fish-scale formation, looking exactly like the Roman testudo. Crassus wanted to be Alexander the Great. Instead, he became a warning that money can buy armies, but it cannot buy wisdom. He had the wealth to build an empire, but his arrogance buried it in the sand. In the end, the desert didn't care how rich he was. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's biggest disasters, hit that subscribe button.